due to the nature of this program. Listener aggression is advised.
Hey, I'm Carla. I'm Heidi.
And we're the Butcher Baby.
This is Charlie Scene.
Yo, what's up? This is AJ from Fly from the Gods.
This is Rich Ward, the Duke of Metal from Fozzy.
Saddam Leader from In Search of Sun.
This is Beefcake the Mighty from Guam.
And Postulus Maximus.
Ahoy, this is Chris from Maelstrom.
Yo, what's up? This is J-Dog from Hollywood Undead.
Hi, this is Ash Costello from New Year's Day.
This is Tommy Vex from the Bad Wolves.
This is Joe from Dead.
Brutality! And I tell you now to say fucking metal, yeah!
This is Boo with Downfall 2012, and you are listening to Honest Brutality, and I'm the greatest headbanger in the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to Honest Brutality. This is the show all about rock, metal, and stuff that doesn't suck. I am joined by my co-host.
This is Big Sloppy.
And Camera Rebel.
And guys, we have an awesome, amazing, super cool guest on the line right now. Hey Boo, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
This is Boo Rogers, ladies and gentlemen, from Downfall 2012.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Good, good.
What's going on, Boo?
Not much. I'm just enjoying some beautiful weather here in Houston. Beautiful, not hot weather.
Houston's been all over the news lately. How about them Astros?
Yeah, that was super exciting. Like, it's pretty crazy to see. I mean, you know, you're always going to have people that are diehard that are going to knock the bandwagon fans or whatever. To me, you know, I love sports. I don't follow as much as I used to because I just haven't had the time. But you know, just to see a lot of people come together because of this, I think is great. I mean, I love it. Whether you're just getting into it, you know, because it's going to make people watch for next season. You know, people are going to be excited about it. People that never followed before. So, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's awesome.
And let's face it, Houston needed that after the hurricane this year. It was great to see that and bring that community together even more. Yeah,
because, you know, the Houston really, it was unbelievable the way you saw Houston come together to help each other out during the hurricane. So this just added to that. You know, we already kind of showed, you know, the country, like what kind of city we are and how we're able to help each other out. And this just really like solidified that.
And there's a cost to that though. Your quarterback on your football team went down this week, so you got to trade one for the other, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like the Texans were doing us a whole lot of favors anyway. So. Like, I mean, it's bad. It's bad. You know, I'm like that. Unfortunately, he's injured and that sucks. But it's not like that is what's going to keep us from the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, it sucks. I hate saying that because I love the Texans, but that's the truth. Like that's not keeping us from a championship.
Well, we'll see about your Rockets and my Warriors later on this year. What do you think?
Oh yeah,
we're going to kick your ass, just so you know.
Well, we'll see.
And let's talk about Downfall 2012 a little bit. What do you think?
This lineup has been together for about 10 years, for a little over a decade. Danny, our guitar player, he's an original member. He was actually in the band for 10 years before that. So he just had his 20-year anniversary in this band. He started it whenever he was a teenager.
Wow.
It was a 4-piece before, kind of had like a rap rock, rap metal vibe to it, because that was super hot, whenever he started the band. 10 years into it, his entire band left him, and he decided to, push on without them, and picked up Casey on drums, and we continued to move on as a 3-piece, and been hitting it hard, trying to put out records and do touring, and trying to play as much as possible ever since. It's been nonstop for 10 years.
That's amazing.
Well, and for the listening audience, Boo, you are the bassist in the band.
Yes, I'm the bassist. I do a heavy amount of screaming.
Yes.
I headbang great.
All right.
And,
I love it.
Yeah. And then we do like a percussion, like bucket routine in the middle of our set. Lasts about 5 or 6 minutes. And so I do some drumming also.
Which is really interesting. There's a couple things here. Number one, you're a 3-piece, which
yes.
Personally, I have a really special place in my heart for 3-piece bands. As a former musician myself, no longer active really, but that's what I really was drawn to, was the 3-piece acts when I was in them. I loved them. There's a certain unity that you don't get with anything bigger than that.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but it doesn't leave any room for fucking around. There's no fluff. Everybody's got to be on point.
No, there's no way to mask any mistakes or any sloppiness or anything like that. And it's pretty amazing how the difference from just one guy could make. Going from a 4-piece to a 3-piece. Now, for the majority of me playing, most of the time I've played in 3-piece bands, so I've had to deal with that a lot. Like, whatever you can do to make you sound bigger, because it's a lot harder. So for some reason, it's so much easier. You just add one more guy, and it's so much easier to sound bigger and to sound tighter, without the audience really knowing that, there may be some fudging around or some sloppiness or whatever. But with a 3-piece, you can't hide that.
Right. And I've noticed that. We were previewing some of the new material from the upcoming album. We Welcome the Pain. And I noticed that you're really in the forefront with your bass. There's a lot of moments where you're really kind of carrying the songs, and it's a lot relying on you very heavily to make that all work.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we really push for, especially when we're playing live, a venue that we've never played before. We let them know, that the bass is not a background instrument. The bass is, needs to be, up there with the guitar, like playing alongside the guitar, not just backing up the guitar.
Right.
Yeah. As you know, guitar players are pussies anyway. They can't handle the bass.
I can't. And that's the thing, is like what I really pride myself on is that I didn't pick up, because nowadays, you most of the time in a band, the bass player is the worst guitar player. That's how we got playing the bass, but with me, I started playing bass. I did not touch a guitar until probably about 3 or 4 years after I started playing bass.
Nice.
So I will say, and I can say this with great confidence, that I am a bass player. I started playing bass. My musical influences are all bass-driven bands. Like, I'm a bass player, which is very rare. There aren't a lot of real bass players anymore. They're just usually, you got 3 guitar players and you only need 2, and this guy's not as good. He can't do any lead stuff, so put him on bass.
And the ones that are bassists that are out there are really well known, and they're very bass centric. So you got your Les Claypools and Primus and your Stu Hams and,
Steve Harris.
Right.
And on and on.
Flea, for me, my idol is Flea. I know he's not the absolute greatest, but his attitude about music, his stage presence, the way he plays, like, he's my all-time favorite bass player. Like, I absolutely love that guy.
So have you ever been on the stage in just a sock or what?
No, I have been on stage in just some Ninja Turtle underwear, but I never just a sock.
And some puppy chaps.
Love it.
That's awesome.
You brought up the fact that you guys do this percussive thing in the middle of your show, and I've seen some videos. I have not had the opportunity to see you guys live. I can't wait to do that. But I did hear another interview with Danny, your guitar player, and he was talking about the fact that you guys are very closely affiliated with Nothing More.
Yes, those guys are from San Antonio, so that's just a short 3-hour drive from here, and we've known those guys for a very, very long time.
Well, the reason I bring the two up at one time is because we have had the opportunity to watch Nothing More grow as a band live. We've seen them several times at Aftershock Festival here in Sacramento, California, and now they do something really interesting with their little side show. At the first time we saw them, they had a bass solo with the percussion thing going on, and they put the bass in this
Bassinator.
And they put it in that contraption and flip it around, and it made me think: is that like a regional thing? Is that something that they maybe picked up from you, or is that something that is just kind of in that area? You guys do that?
We've been asked that. We've been asked that before, and like the absolute honesty is that the first time that we each saw each other perform, we were doing some sort of percussion. Because what we do now, 10 years later, that's not exactly what we were doing. When we first started doing it, it was one one bucket rack, and just buckets and the drums, and that was it. And it was like maybe a minute and a half. And what they were doing, whenever they first started doing it with the whole bass thing, is that they were doing like a 3-man bass solo, and they had Johnny was drumming at the time, and he would get down in front of the basses and play on the strings while they were just doing, crazy stuff on the fretboard.
Right.
So we both realized immediately that we kind of are thinking outside the box whenever it comes to live shows, and what it is that we were doing started getting bigger and bigger, but they went to one direction and we went to a different direction. If you take what they were doing at, when we first met them 10 years ago, as to what they're doing now with like the Scorpion and all the effects and all the crazy stuff that they're doing, it went to a different direction than what we did. We are more like a more primal, tribal, like homemade style, and theirs went into a contraption, and like it just went to a different direction. But we both realized that we were doing this like at the same time. Nobody took anything from anybody. It just kind of happened. And there aren't any other bands from Texas that I can think of that is doing something even kind of similar to it. So I don't really know if it's probably more than likely it's just coincidence that we're a group of guys that were kind of thinking outside the box whenever it comes to a live performance, rather than just playing exactly what is, on the albums, to add something that you can only get live. Because I can guarantee you that what they do, that extra stuff that they do, you're never going to catch that on a record. They're never going to record that. And we're the same way. That's something that you can only get live, and you won't get on an album.
And that's one of my favorite things about a live show, is that you're not going to get what you get on an album with all the little extra stuff in there. I mean, if I want to hear the album, I'll stay at home and hear the album. But exactly. also with all the contraptions and things going on, it actually makes the show quite fascinating and really draws you into it. It's pretty cool. Nothing more.
Yes.
Seeing them just grow has just been, we saw them just recently, and it was actually, I almost choked up a few times watching them, because I saw them when they were beginning.
And there was maybe 40 or 50 people up front.
Yeah.
And this time there's 5,000 people,
and
like,
it was just
flocking.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And I don't know the guys, but it's one of those things where, I'm definitely connected to them through their music, was definitely proud of them. So very cool. Thanks for your insight on that.
It's one of those things where, I know exactly what you're talking about, like as far as like getting choked up, because we have known them for so long.
Right.
And once their the self-titled record came out, I guess maybe it was like 2014, and I listened to that whole thing, and then I saw them, one of their first shows touring off of that album. I'm like, that's it. Like, these guys are going to be untouchable. Like, and so whenever I saw them touring off of that record, and I got to see their show live after that record, like I got choked up. I was like, because for so long, and not to say that we compare ourselves to them, but we always had kind of the mentality that, like, man, if these guys deserve to be, to me, those guys deserve, they've worked their asses off, and they deserve to be, the biggest band in the world. Like, that's how I really feel.
Wow,
and we always were like, if these guys are not getting the opportunities that we feel that they should get, what the hell is going to happen to us?
Right.
We always kind of felt that way. And so whenever we saw them at that caliber, like, it was bittersweet. It was obviously more sweet than bitter, but we're just like, man, that's so awesome. And then at that point, we're like, all right, we have to do something with ourselves, like, because that's where we want to be. That's
Step
the
up your
direction
game.
we want to go.
Motivated you.
Not as far as music, but not as far as but as far as like our what we're doing in our careers. It definitely motivated us.
That's cool.
To want to push harder and work harder and do more.
That's great.
That's such a great testimony. I love it.
What's going on in Texas, man? It seems like most of the best metal and rock acts right now are coming from Texas.
Out
look
of the
at
states, yeah. Arizona and Texas.
Yeah.
There's
but
a lot there.
You got Sons of Texas, THC, obviously. You're saying nothing more. Upon a Burning Body, Shattered Sun, and Downfall 2012. You guys are all from Texas. I mean, we can go all the way back to Pantera if you want, but looking at you guys and listening to your guys' sound, I love, by the way. I was watching the Heckler video today.
Oh yeah,
dude,
that was a fun video.
You know, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw you guys were in that cage, I thought of the Blues Brothers when they had that scene.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were going for.
Well, you nailed it, because that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, I was just waiting for you guys to break into Rawhide, you know, while watching that. So you know where I'm going.
I was kind of thinking Roadhouse.
Yeah, and nonetheless,
there's a combination of Blues Brothers and Roadhouse.
Beautiful,
and maybe a little bit of urban cowboy.
Okay, yeah,
Nice.
I get that.
But it's something in Texas. You guys, along with the other bands, are fucking bringing the pain, man. It's unbelievable to me, the amount of just killer kick-ass rock and metal coming out of Texas. It used to be L.A. It used to be Seattle. Yeah. It used to be San Francisco. Right now, it's fucking Texas, and you guys are a big part of that, I think. Yeah,
and what's crazy to me is that because we are from Texas, you know, you kind of forget about how many bands are actually coming out of Texas. Because, you know, obviously we're very much focused on what it is that we're doing. And, you know, you kind of lose sight of that. Now the thing is, a lot of these bands that are coming out of, that are coming out of Texas, they're not bands that we don't network with them. So it's not like back in the early 2000s, whenever you had the New England, metal and hardcore that was happening, and every one of those bands networked together. They toured together.
Right.
You know, they traveled the country together. You know, you have like Killswitch Engage, Shadows Fall. You know, Soilwork would come over to the States and tour with all those bands. You know, so but it's not like that here. So you kind of forget that there are a lot of great bands that are pushing and working their asses off and actually making the correct steps to, you know, pursue this as a career that's coming out of Texas. You kind of forget about that because you don't have that network of bands that are doing it together. We're kind of, you know, because we're so spread out. You know, Texas is so huge, and there's so many major cities, but they're so spread out that there's not really a great way to be able to network, to work with those bands and kind of all happen at the same time, which is what happened in New England in the early 2000s. You had so many bands that all were rising at the same time, and they were all coming from the same area.
Yeah, you know what? You have a great point there, and you kind of went back historically a little bit there. So I want to do a little bit of that with you. Boo, you've been in the industry now for quite some time. So how do you feel about record sales 15, 20 years ago as to how albums are sold today?
This is one of those things where I'm not there are certain points. There's pros and cons. Obviously, to everything, there's pros and cons.
Right.
Nowadays, with social media, with things like YouTube, it's so easy to get your stuff to be accessible for people to, you know, get a hold of it. But the problem is that everybody has that opportunity. So,
right.
So you have so many more bands that are using stuff like the internet to be noticed, to be seen. There's just so many of them. You didn't have that 15, 20 years ago.
Right. The exposure is bigger.
Yeah. So 15, 20 years ago, you know, if you were making some headway and you started to, people started noticing you, you know, they were noticing you because somebody was help pushing you, or they were coming to live shows. That was the reason why. But it was harder to get yourself to that point.
Yeah.
You know, so because you didn't have things like YouTube or Facebook or, you know, or whatever. So it's good and it's not, but it's one of those things that I'm pretty sure if I was at the age that I'm at now, 20 years ago, I would probably have some sort of complaint about the way the record industry is, because it's not like it was 20 years before that. So I know that pretty much what I have to do. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do that's going to be able to change that. So I'm just going to have to roll with it. And, we're going to have to just do what we can and with the record industry, the way that it is now. That's our only choice. You know, we're not going to be able to do anything to make it like it was 15, 20 years ago.
Right. And you drive a good point there, especially with the YouTube. Do you think that, and I kind of have a two-part question here. So do you think that YouTube has driven down, show attendance? And then also to piggyback that, how do you foresee 20 years from now album sales? Because, things constantly evolve. So how do you foresee that?
I think that I'm not necessarily sure that YouTube has hurt like show attendance.
Uh-huh.
I think that things like social media and the ability to promote so easy and just like make a flyer, make an event or whatever for shows, I think that is what has hurt show attendance, because I remember before I was in Downfall, I was in another band. I was in a punk band, and I remember going out to venues and actually handing out, like making flyers, getting them cut, going out and doing street promo.
Street team, man. Hanging that shit on telephone poles.
Yeah, I remember running into Danny, at the same venue, him promoting his show and me promoting my show, handing out flyers. Like we would run into each other, just walking around downtown. I think that people responded to that more than, I get 100 different invites for an event a day, So there's how am I gonna be able to pick through that? It's just so easy to dismiss because you get so much of them.
So it's oversaturation.
And I think that I need to take my own advice, but I've talked about it before. I think that if you were to see a resurgence in street promo, then you will see a resurgence in attendance at shows, like at local shows.
I like that.
Absolutely.
It actually makes a lot of sense.
Take on that. And then album sales in 20 years.
Album sales in 20 years. I mean, I kind of feel like that because I'm not exactly sure, but we're already at a point where certain places where you get albums from digital media. I mean, obviously those count as album sales. I think that maybe in 20 years, album sales may not mean a damn thing. Which is, it's unfortunate, because you want to know that there's so many people buying your albums and whatnot, and that's probably a good feeling to know that, hey, look, we were able to sell this many albums, but that in 20 years that'll end up being the standard.
Right.
I think sooner than that, actually. A lot sooner, unfortunately.
Yeah, very well could be.
Hey, so let's talk about your guys' music. You got a new album coming out.
We welcome the pain.
Yeah, right now there's 2 singles available, like on Spotify, iTunes. You can even watch, on YouTube. There's like a video with just like our logo with it all. We Welcome the Pain and Take Control have already been released. This album was actually pretty painful to create. We got to a point where we pretty much said, fuck it, we're going to write whatever the hell we want. We're not going to have any additional writers. We're not going to have any help. We're going to do it all ourselves.
I like that.
So we locked ourselves in our studio for like 6 or 7 days. I think maybe I walked outside maybe twice the whole time.
Wow. That man's got to take a leak.
We wrote an entire record in 1 week.
Wow.
Wow.
That is amazing.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the writing and that process, the interview that I had spoke of earlier with Danny, he actually credits you with a lot of the writing influence and being the driving force.
Yeah, I actually, I did a very healthy amount of writing, bass, guitar, and drums. I just had I don't know what happened. I just had a fire under my ass, and I was just creating nonstop. I just absolutely nonstop. So before that week that we came in, I had spent a good amount of time, probably about 9 months, just writing full songs, bass, drum, and guitar. I probably had like 15 of them set and like ready to go to start, actually ironing out. So whenever we came in for that week, we were actually taking stuff that I had demoed, reworking it, rearranging it, and then we started working on vocals, which that is credited to pretty much all Danny and Casey, which is also a different way of us writing, because most of the time the vocals are taken care of by Danny, and then he kind of delegates to me and Casey, you know, what parts we're going to do and whatnot. But this time it was a collective effort for, you know, Danny and Casey. They were both writing, and they had a lot of stuff to write about. So, you know, that we'd all been going through a lot of personal stuff, individually and then together, and then, you know, things with you know, with the industry. So
yeah,
we had a lot of stuff to, you know, get off our chest. So,
well, and I picked up on that.
That was Danny and Casey who took on all the, you know, the vocal writing.
You guys pounded out 11 tracks, very solid material. The one thing I got to give you credit for is vocally, there's a lot of harmonies. There's a lot of really deep, rich vocals. And for a 3-piece, that's not something you always get.
Thank you. And the thing is we, you know, with our older stuff, especially the stuff off the Every Man for Himself saga, there was, you know, some of Casey's vocals, you know, him taking some lead parts, and we've been told by a lot of people that they felt that we should utilize Casey's voice because it's so different from mine and Danny's. You know, all three of our voices are very different, but Casey's is the most different. And so a lot of people were like, man, you should try to utilize Casey's voice more. So that's what we did. And I think this time, him being able to help write also helped out with that. It makes it, you know, whenever you're singing your own stuff, you can put a lot there. When you believe in that, you know, there's a lot more heart that goes into it than, you know, just singing what somebody else wrote. So I really think that helped out a lot. And the thing is, you know, we're also one of those bands that, you know, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that every single vocal you hear on the record is heard live, you know? So,
Right.
So it's not only one of those things that we can just doctor up in the studio and then just walk away from it. You know, we have to be able to perform all of that.
Yeah.
Live.
Right. You want to be able to replicate it live.
You know?
Yeah. Not a bunch of auto-tuning bullshit. Yeah.
Speaking of the live, how's that going when you play in the new material live? People are taking right to it?
Oh yeah, people love it. It's difficult. This is some of the most difficult stuff that you know, that we've written. It takes a lot out of us. Also, it's new, so our bodies and our voices aren't adjusted to it. You know, the Everyman stuff we've been playing for a long time, and we can do that, you know, for hours, you know, without getting winded or anything, because it's second nature. We've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
But when we start throwing in this new material, you know, it definitely takes a lot out of us. But people are into it. They really, really seem to enjoy it. So. I mean, I've never been more proud of anything that I've ever been a part of, you know, recording. Like, so if nothing were to come from this record at all, at least I can say this is the best work I've ever been a part of. So.
Wow.
Nice.
That's cool. And you should be proud because it's very, very good stuff. You were talking earlier about the actual content, the lyrical content, the feelings behind some of these songs. And it's evident in some of these songs that there's some angst there. Now, whoever it's directed at, you guys put the appropriate amount of ambiguity in it, so there's no smoking gun, so to speak. You guys have also incorporated some more dynamic sound in general with the big dropouts and then coming back in heavy.
Yeah.
Was that something you really had planned to do?
I always knew that, I mean, you know, as much as, you know, we're a heavier band, so obviously we love to go balls to the wall, but at the same time, we listen to what it is, the music that we listen to on our own and together is so broad. We listen to so much different stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that we listen to that does have lots of dynamic, lots of ups and downs. So yeah, obviously, you know, we're gonna want to incorporate some of that, but a lot of the times that it happened, none of it was forced. Like, it just kind of, it felt right to go this direction at this part of the song, or to go to this direction, you know?
Right.
Which I think, you know, because it has that, and it's not like it's a dynamic where things seem out of place. You know, we don't go a certain direction in the song and it doesn't feel unnatural, you know? So we wanted to be able to have that dynamic, but we also didn't want it to sound like we forced a certain part just for sake of saying, oh, we have dynamics because we got quiet, you know? No, we did it and it was natural.
You guys obviously have a broad taste in music, and I've seen some of your live stuff, and Baby Got Back. Your kick-ass rock version of that song is amazing. That and then Folsom Prison Blues, which we actually came across about a year ago.
Yeah.
Both of those. Come on. How are you guys not one of the biggest bands on the fucking planet? Because your takes on these songs, not to mention your original stuff, you guys should be at the top of most every fucking festival I see, man.
And I mean, that kind of stuff, you know, we do that kind of stuff, especially if we're, you know, if we're going to be playing, if we're headlining, so we're going to be doing more than your normal 30 or 40 minute set. You know, we're capable of doing, you know, 4 hours. Like we've done it before.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah.
But, you know, we kind of have to, not that we don't believe that our original stuff will hold people's attention, but we still want to be able to, the same thing as like the buckets, like, you know, we're not doing it because it's a gimmick or anything. We really like doing that stuff. You know, we think it's entertaining. So we feel like that everybody else would feel like it's entertaining.
Right, yeah.
And the same thing goes for those obscure covers that we do. We think that it's super entertaining and fun to listen to and fun to play. So we have the same hopes that people will feel the same way. It's just a little kind of added, you know, bonus that you get whenever you see us live.
Well, you do Folsom Prison Blues. Johnny Cash, we talk about on our show all the time. He's the most metal, non-metal guy to ever exist.
Oh,
absolutely.
To me, he's like the godfather of metal and like grunge and what pretty much any heavier genre. You could call Johnny Cash the godfather of all of that.
There's two guys that aren't metal that are totally metal, and Johnny Cash is one, and David Allan Coe, in my mind, is the other. You know,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
I could. Johnny Cash is like the American Ozzy, kind of to me. It's what he is. He's just, you know, he's that guy, and everybody loves fucking Johnny. If you don't, fuck you, get out.
Yeah,
get the fuck out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What I love when people pick up on, you know, because in the middle of, you know, because we actually recorded the cover of Johnny Cash, and we play that live. I love when people pick up on the Pantera that we throw in the middle of it.
Yeah,
you know, the Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, right before the guitar solo. When people like get into that, that is my favorite part of playing that song. When people realize that we're playing Cowboys from Hell in the middle, you know, of Folsom Prison Blues.
and we got to talk just for a second about Pantera, because they're probably one of the most influential modern metal bands in the world at this point.
100% agree.
Almost every band we talk to brings them up as an influence or as a reason for being involved in music at some point or another. And they're also from...
Yeah, I feel that... I feel that even that they were doing things that bands now are doing, and they were doing that shit 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, very, even as far as like the way like the recording is, you know, like the very clicky sounding kick drum, you know,
right,
breakdowns, you know, high screaming, low screaming, all in the same, you know, in the same band, you know, not happening, you know, and I really feel that even if any of these modern, you know, more modern heavy bands can't give at least a little bit of props to Pantera for that, because even if they're not directly influenced by Pantera, guaranteed they're influenced by somebody who was influenced by Pantera.
Right,
so,
right, yeah.
If you can't give any props to that, you really just kind of need to fuck off. Like there's no other way about it. Like that is an insult to so much of the metal and heavy rock community if you cannot give props to Pantera for what it is that you're doing.
Man,
well
nailed
said.
It. You absolutely nailed it. Hey, speaking of Pantera and other bands, you guys have played with a lot of bands. And
a lot of bands.
Yeah, and currently, or I guess probably about a year ago, Avatar. You guys toured with Avatar a little bit.
Yeah, we toured with Avatar, which was so great. Those guys we were already fans of them before we ever toured with them. I love that band. Actually, the first time I saw them was at Aftershock in like 2014 or 2015. I flew out to Sacramento because Nothing More was out there, and I wanted to like just show up and like surprise those guys, and ended up seeing Avatar, and they blew me away. They were so amazing. So I've been listening to them. You know, I've been listening to them for a few years, and when we got the opportunity to jump on a tour with them, I told Danny, I was like, we absolutely, whatever we have to do. You know, whatever we have to do to make sure that our bills are paid back at home or whatever, we have to go on tour with these guys. And it was the greatest tour so far in all of our touring life. It is the best tour we've ever been on. It was so much fun. Those guys are amazing.
They
They're
seem
the
like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so much fun, but they are so professional at what they do. And they really taught us a lot about the proper ways to go about being a a band on the road.
So that's interesting.
Those guys really helped us out with a lot when it comes to touring.
That's really interesting. You guys have been at this forever, and yet you're still out there learning how to be on tour. I mean, you guys been doing it for what, 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, well, we've been this lineup's been doing it for 10, and the thing is I feel like about touring and about the music industry. I feel the same way that I feel about bass playing. There will never be a point where I can say that I have learned everything that I need to know about playing bass. There's always going to be something to learn.
Absolutely.
So I feel the same way about touring and about the music industry. I'm never going to know everything about it. Also because it changes so much,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very fluid.
Yeah, we're always going to be learning about that stuff. And those guys taught us a lot.
So looking back on your career, what is your greatest reward as a musician? What has been your greatest reward?
Oh man, greatest reward. I will say, and this is kind of odd, but probably one of my favorite things, and it's a compliment that we get, but the compliment, whenever we get it, is probably one of my favorite things ever. And it's whenever somebody comes up to me and says, you know what, I normally don't listen to music that is that heavy, but I would watch you guys play live any day.
Wow.
That to me
awesome.
Is amazing because the thing is I'm not saying that everyone in the metal community are yes men and are just going to like it just because it's heavy. But whenever you can get somebody who is not a fan of that style to either become a fan of that style or at least become a fan of you and because of your live performance, that means more to me sometimes than somebody who is into this genre of music and really enjoys us, because it's not that I expect them to like us. It's a little more believable that they like us, but when somebody who does not listen to this style of music is blown away by your live show and is willing to buy your merch and then buy your CD so they can listen to it now, even though they would never have listened to it otherwise, that is huge to me. That is a huge reward to me.
That's badass.
That's very awesome.
Yeah.
That's very awesome.
You recently also played with OTEP.
Yes.
Now, that's a band. You toured with a band who has surrounded themselves with quite a bit of controversy, at least one person in the band recently.
Yeah.
Was that a positive experience?
I'll tell you what, it's one of those things that the controversy that has been, out and about or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things where I'm like, oh, well, that's expected. I'm just like, nah, maybe I could see where maybe that could be an issue or whatever. While we were on tour with them, we had zero problems.
Cool.
Zero problems.
Okay.
There is to a certain extent, I'm not saying that there's an amount of respect that should just be demanded and you should just have it just because, but at the same time, they have been doing it for longer than we have. They are going to know a little bit more of the ropes than we are. And so we just kind of, every tour package you tour with is going to be different. They're going to operate different. And if you're the lower guys on that tour package, you kind of need to, in a way, just kind of follow along with what's going on, especially if this band is giving you an opportunity to be able to play in front of people that you may not have played in front of otherwise.
No, that's cool.
So,
yeah.
We were respectful. We were respectful to what it is, any kind of rules or anything like that. We were respectful about it, and we had zero problems. We actually became very close with Justin, their drummer, and Ari, the guitar player. OTEP herself actually saw, she watched us. Nobody really gets a lot of communication with her directly. She's kind of like a introvert. Like she doesn't, she just,
right.
She gets everything out on stage, so there wasn't a whole lot of communication with her, but there were a few times that, we did sit and talk with her, and, we never had an issue. We did learn a lot from touring with that camp too, because, like I said, it's going to be, you're going to come across different tour packages. Everyone's going to operate differently.
Right.
So if I'm actually kind of glad, touring with OTEP was a little bit, I don't want to say strict, but you just had to be a little more mindful of some of the things that you did, and if you do that, then you'll have zero problems. And then we go on tour with Avatar, and it's different. Now, they're still very professional, you know, and they're not party animals or anything like that. But there were certain things that we had a little more leeway on, which was fine. But I can understand if a band was constantly touring with tour packages that did nothing but party all the time and didn't stick to a schedule, and everything was just like, you know, just fun and games, and there's not taking anything seriously, and then going and touring with a band like OTEP, which is very different from that. If you still have that we're going to party all the time mentality, and that's all this is big party, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
That's very cool.
Yeah, because there's two sides to every story. Well, three, right? Yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a job. I mean, if I go to my place of employment and try to run things my way, I'm going to be out of a fucking job.
That's right. You've gotten close here several times.
Yeah. Whatever, dude. Anyway, speaking of touring, I didn't notice anything on your Facebook page regarding a tour as far as dates. I saw one date in Houston, I think, coming up, but that was it. You guys have anything lined up for a tour?
We wanna do some tour. That's all that's still in the works. Nothing's been solidified yet, but we definitely want to do some touring early 2008. Probably, I think we're leaning towards 2018. Not 2008.
I would say 2008. We're late.
Yeah, I'm very late. Probably around like February. You know, start touring then. Around the holidays is really hard to get touring going. There's so much going on with, you know, families and at this point, you know, we're so close to the holidays that there'd be no point for us to try to book something. But yeah, probably around February, March, we want to hit the road. So there's going to be some dates that are going to start popping up slowly, you know, until a full tour schedule is released.
Nice. Is Callie in part of that?
Oh, definitely.
Nice.
Definitely.
Let us know so we can make sure we're out there seeing you support.
Oh, absolutely.
I may let you be in my presence. I haven't decided.
Oh, for
yet.
crying out loud.
We'll figure it out.
He's so full of himself.
Full of something.
All right. So Downfall 2012, We Welcome the Pain. What's release date on that?
I think we're shooting for November 18th.
Oh,
I think that's the date.
Good day.
I don't know that is set in stone. So I know it'll definitely be released before the end of the year, but I think mid-November is what we're going for. So we're coming up to it pretty close.
Well, and by the time this is airing and you're hearing this out there, listening audience, it may already be out. So go out, get it, check it out. If not, pre-order it. Just check this band out. Check this album out. We have had the opportunity to listen to all 11 tracks several times over.
Awesome.
It's in our playlist. It's amazing stuff. It's fantastic. And it's so laser sharp and tight.
Oh, thank you. That's always a great. I can't I have a really hard time with especially bands in this genre. If you know, it's a little loose, a little sloppy, or a little like no one's gonna notice that. You know, I can't. I have a really hard time with that. So you know, we're pretty. You know, we're like kind of perfectionists whenever it comes to making sure that, you know, our albums are like, you know, this is how it's supposed to be. Plus, we're working with Jim Finley. He's our producer, and that guy is a machine. He is absolutely a machine. So, you know, he if I think that I nailed something, you know, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's a take. He's like, nope. Do it again.
Do over.
Mm-hmm.
Dig it.
All right, Boo. Is there anything that we didn't ask you today that you wanted to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, you guys, you know, this is one of the best interviews that I've had. And it's a beautiful day, so I get to do it. I get to do it outside, which is great.
Thank you.
I'm not locked up in a room or anything. So,
cool.
Just you know, everybody who's listening, you know, check us out, downfall2012.com. You can pretty much find that's like a central hub for everything, for YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, all that stuff. You can find everything at downfall2012.com.
On that note, I did go to your website, and I love the way you guys have it laid out because you can actually listen to the songs on the website. It's awesome.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes,
man.
I feel that's kind of that is kind of lost. I remember, you know, I don't know, maybe like 15, not even 15 years ago, maybe like, you know, 11 or 12 years ago, going to bands' websites and searching through their website, but being able to listen to their music at the same time. Like that was always a great thing for me. And I know it's small and it's not really that big of a deal, but I really enjoyed that. So, I really kind of feel like if maybe you get lost, that gets lost a little bit. You can't listen to their stuff unless you're either buying it or streaming it on Spotify or YouTube or something like that, you know?
Boo, thank you so much for being a guest here on Honest Brutality today. We really appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
I think I love Boo. I have a man crush.
He's so cool, man.
He was way awesome.
He was really cool. I just really loved all of his insight in the industry and just you can tell his passion for what he does is there. Like it just was really just coming through.
Absolutely. And he's humble.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
The never stop learning, the never stop striving, the never stop trying to achieve. Otherwise, then you've become irrelevant. And it's an amazing thing to say.
It really is, because they're seasoned pros.
Yeah.
They've been at this for a long time. They got a lot of music out there. They've done a lot of touring, and yet to always be wanting to learn and improve. That's awesome, man. I just dig it.
And, I really enjoyed his view on touring with other bands and how they're all different. We talk to so many bands and I never really think of that part of touring. Touring with one band is kind of different and they have their own set of rules and all of that other stuff. So
interesting insight.
It was very interesting to me. So that was really cool.
Absolutely.
I dug that. So.
Yeah. I get it. Because I don't want anybody, that's not affiliated with this show to look me in the eye. Unless
I'm
I give them
looking
permission.
you in the eye right now.
You're affiliated with
I'm
the show.
not affiliated.
How do you know if we're looking you in the eye? You don't have your glasses on.
Such a bitch, I swear to God.
All right.
I'm looking at your boobs.
I hate you both.
I'm looking at your man boobs. Is that the same as looking you in the eyes?
My eyes are up here. Ladies and gentlemen, Downfall 2012. As soon as these guys are done. Downfall 2012. Get out there. Get the new album. We welcome the pain.
Yes.
Again, special thanks to Yvonne's World for hooking us up with Boo today and Downfall 2012. This has been Honest Brutality. You can check out all things Honest Brutality at honestbrutality.com. That's where the rest of the podcast resides and all the other information that you need to know that you didn't even know you needed to know. I almost blew that.
There's a lot of needs and knows in there.
Things you never knew, you never knew.
Something like that. I don't know.
I think that's lyrics from a Pocahontas song.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out. Come over, follow, poke, shake our hand, send us a message. That's all good. You can give us a call.
Yeah, you can call us. 530-962-0411. Let me do this evil style. 530-962-0411.
He's all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
You don't have half the style, son.
Oh, it's not style, it's speed.
Hey, man, I get the job done.
Yeah. Quickly.
That's what she said. Yeah. All right, so 530-962.
Oh, smart ass.
0411.
Smart ass over there. I love it. I wouldn't want it any other way, though. I wouldn't want it any fucking way.
It's like this. 530-962-0411.
You call that one, it's going to cost you more money.
Wow.
That's how you usually say it, Slappy.
Well, that was a lot sexier than I can do it.
You can also check us out on Rock Rage Radio. We have 2 shows over there, one on Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, where we play 2 hours of badass music and have all kinds of mayhem and fun. Yeah. And you can check us out on Tuesdays.
Yeah, Center Stage with Honest Brutality, where we talk to musicians, much like Boo, and we play their music. So you get 1 full hour dedicated to the band that we chose that you didn't know that you needed to hear.
Damn.
You never knew. You never knew.
All right, everybody. Thank you once again for tuning in today. Take care of one another. Be good people. And most importantly, stay
Stay metal. You're such a monster. You sound like a walker.
I told you to stay metal.
We out.
This is Boo with Downfall 2012, and you're about to listen to Take Control on Honest Brutality.
Falling mentally departed, but I still insist on problem solving. The world's so tainted, the tight restraints set. Now you're going nowhere. Tell me, do you wanna feel the pain yet? There is no solution, revolution of the brain. There is no solution, revolution of the brain. Show me all the darkness.
Hey, this is Boo with Downfall 2012, and you are about to listen to Heckler on Honest Brutality.
Waste of time. If you could keep your voice down, I'ma keep myself from